Hi guys, welcome to Craft with Jared. I'm Jared, and today I want to show you how to crochet a double crochet. So we're going to make a square using the double crochet, and I'm using this nice peachy like salmon color wool, and this is going to be added to our patchwork blanket series. But before we begin, I'd just like to thank the people who have been watching so far, leaving a like, leaving comments and subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much for your support and your participation. Please remember to leave a like on this video if you like it, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and follow me on Instagram at Craft with Jared, and leave me a tag on your creations you've created and put hashtag Craft with Jared on that post, so I'll be able to go and find your stuff that you've made. So let's get into this video, and thanks for watching. So this equipment we're going to need for this double crochet square is going to be our wool. I'm using this nice peachy salmon color wool, double knit, 100 acrylic, and to see the size crochet hook we need, just look next to the knitting needles. So this one we need a US 5, a UK 8 or 4mm. I'm using a 4.5mm, just a half a size up because I want a more loose knit. Then the next thing we're going to need is going to be our scissors. This is just to cut off the ends at the end. Then we are going to need our darning needle. This is to sew in the ends at the end. So the darning needle, you're going to notice, is not like a normal needle, they're blunt at the end, so it doesn't scag your wool. Then we are going to need our measuring tape, so we can measure the square to make sure that it's the right size. If you don't have a measuring tape, you can use that other method I showed you in my previous videos where you fold the square in half. And then the last thing we're going to need is our crochet hook. I'm using a 4.5 meter crochet hook. I'm using a metal one because I find that it's easy to crochet with, and it allows the crochet hook to glide through the wool and not get caught or static. You can use wooden. I have used wooden before, and I also enjoy using wooden. I don't really enjoy using plastic because you don't feel the weight of the needle. So you can use any crochet hook you want, but I'm using a 4.5. So the first thing we need to do is create our slip knot. That's the same type of slip knot we use for our knitting. So what we do is we hold our fingers like this, wrap the wool around, so you create a small V, put your thumb in, turn your fingers and grab your working yarn. And there's your slip knot. You can just... And you want to leave a bit of a tail at the end, so we can sew in the ends at the end so it doesn't unravel. Once we have our slip knot, we're going to insert it in our hook and then just pull down to tighten. We don't want it too tight because this hook needs to go through this knot. So one of the most important things with crocheting is your tension control and how you hold your working yarn. So how you want to hold your working yarn with crocheting is you're going to hold your hand out like this. So you have your pinky open, these two fingers together, and then this finger open. And what we want to do is we want to put it behind our pinky, in front of our ring finger and middle finger, and behind our index finger, so we can see how the wool is like that. Then with our middle finger and our thumb, we're going to hold that little tail. And this is the way we want to hold our wool, because we're using this wool that is where our pointy finger is, that attaches to our crochet hook. So once we have our correct hand positioning with the crochet hook and our working yarn, we want to start chaining on, and we want to chain on 22 plus 3. So what we do is you take your needle, so you want to hold your crochet hook on that little indentation that it has with the metal ones. It makes it easier to control the flipping of the crochet hook. So what we want to do is we want to grab the yarn, so we're going to just put the crochet hook under the yarn, turn it down and pull through the loop. We want to grab the yarn, turn the crochet hook down and pull it through the loop. Grab, turn down and pull through. When this tail gets too long, you're going to move your fingers and you're going to hold it up there. You're going to grab and pull through, grab and pull through. And we're just going to continue doing that until we have 22 plus 3. So why I say 22 plus 3 is because the length of our square will be 22 stitches, then we plus 3 because we're doing a double crochet, and the last 3 chains is our first double crochet, but I'll show you when we get there. So we're going to just continue going until we have 22 stitches, and then I'll meet you back when we do the plus 3 stitches. So once we've chained on 22 stitches, we're going to add 3. But a way you can count your stitches if you've lost track is you can see, if you turn your stitches to face you, you're going to see 2 sides. You're going to see the front of your work, well, the front of the stitches, they show a bunch of little V's, and then you're going to see the back and it's little loops. So you want to count where the V's are, and you want to count 22 V's. Once you have your 22 stitches, we're going to add 3. So 1, 2, 3. This is our first double crochet in our first row. So the next step is we're going to count from the hook, not this loop on the hook, the loop underneath the hook. We're going to count 3 stitches. And remember, you count the stitches with the V's. So it's 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into that third V. So you're going to count 3 from the hook into the first V. But because we're doing a double crochet, we're going to pick up wool. So just normally pick up. So you're going to take the crochet hook from the bottom. You're going to turn it down. Then you're going to go into that third V. So now you have the 2 loops we picked up. Then we're in the V. You're going to pull. So you're going to turn your hook around and you're going to pull the wool, the working yarn on the finger, through that V. I've grabbed it now. You're going to put it through the V. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to grab the yarn again, so go underneath the yarn, turn your hook around, and we're going to pull through 2 loops. Now we have 2 loops. We're going to grab the yarn again and we're going to pull through another 2 loops. And now we have our chain 3 and we have our first double crochet. So let's do that again. We need to go and do a double crochet in every V. So now we're going to do our second double crochet. So we're going to grab the yarn. So go from the bottom of the yarn, turn your hook, then we're going to look for the second V. So we can see over there, there is a second V. So it's the loop, the V right next to the double crochet we've just done. We're going to put our hook through that second V. It's a little bit tight, so it's a bit tough to put it through. The first row is always the most difficult row to do, in my opinion, when you do knitting or crocheting. So now it's through the V. Then you're going to grab the yarn. So how we grab our yarn is we turn our hook onto our yarn, so the yarn is on the hook, and we're going to pull that working yarn through the V. So now we've got 3 loops on. You're going to grab the yarn, first 2 loops, then we have 2 loops, grab the yarn through the second 2 loops. And when we hold our work with our middle finger and thumb, we're holding the work we've done. We're holding the work we've done. So this is where you hold your work. So now let's do the third one. We're going to grab our yarn, go through the third V, pull through, go through the first 2 loops, then go through the second 2 loops. So what I mean about going into the V next to the double crochet is this is a double crochet we've just done, and you can see it's opened up this loop. That's where it's in. So we've already done that loop. We want to go into the V right next to it. So this is the one we've done, this is the V we want to go into, the one right next to it. Yours might be very tight, very loose, but just know it's a V right next to it. And the first row is always the most difficult row to do in crocheting or knitting because it's just because the tension is a bit more tighter than normal. So once we've done this first row, it will be a breeze. So we're going to go into the next V. We're going to grab the yarn, turn your hook, we're going to push the hook through the V, then we're going to grab through the yarn through the V, we're going to grab the yarn and go through the first 2 loops, grab the yarn and go through the second 2 loops, grab the yarn, go into the V, grab it through the yarn through the V, first 2 loops, second 2 loops. So I'll meet you back once we have finished doing our first row. I will come back once there is 2 more stitches to do, and I'll show you how to turn your work and start your next row. So we have 2 more double crochets to do. So remember, we're going to grab our yarn, turn the work down, stick the hook into the first, the V next to the one we've just done, pull through, then we're going to take the working yarn and go through the first 2 loops, take the working yarn, go through the last 2 loops. And then the last double crochet when you chain on is the most difficult because it's next to the slip knot. So if you see your slip knot, the V should be right next to the slip knot, and that's where we want to go in with the last double crochet. So we're going to loop over, we're going to go into the V, then we're going to grab the yarn through the V. So now we've got 3 loops on our hook, go through the first 2 loops, go through the last 2 loops. So now we've done our first row. So now we've done our first row. So now what we want to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to turn our work. So we chain 3, then we turn the work. And what we want to do here is we're going to do a double crochet, not in the first loop. So you can see if we hold our work like this, we have big loops at the bottom, or big holes at the bottom, just above those big holes. If you just stretch the work a bit, you're going to see that there's a smaller hole on top. And that small little hole, at the bottom of the small hole, there's 1 strand of yarn, and at the top of that small hole, there's 2 strands of yarn. So if you turn your work like this, you're going to see more little V's. You want to grab both those strands of yarn, not one of them, you want to grab both of them. So if you look at your work where you chained on, so there's our chain on, then there's a small little loop. We're going to ignore that one because we've already done our double crochet, which is the chain on. The loop next to it, that's where we insert our hook for our next double crochet. So if you see, I just want to explain which loops we go into. So we've chained our 3 and we've turned our work. If you look at your work now and you face it towards you, so if you face it this way and then you turn it like that so you can see literally the top of the work, you're going to see it's made up of small little V's that are connected to each other. That's where we're putting our hook in. But we want to grab both those little V's. So if you see over here, you look, we want to grab both those V's. So if you turn your work and you see all those little V's, we want to go into those V's. And then if you turn your work this way, you can see there's a big loop, a big hole. And then just above that big hole, you see the small hole where my fingers are pointing, where I'm busy holding the wool. That small hole, that's where we want to go. But because we chained on 3, which is going to be our first double crochet, we don't want to go in that first small hole, we want to go into the second small hole. Whenever you start a new row, you go into your second small hole, not the first one. Let's do our first double crochet for our second row. Okay, we're going to grab the yarn. Then remember, not the first small hole, the second small hole, and you want to put the hook in at the hole facing you. That's where you want to push it in. So you can see I've gone into that small hole. You're going to push your hook through the small hole. You're going to grab your yarn and you're going to pull it through. So now we have 3 loops again on our hook. We're going to grab the yarn, go in the first 2, grab the yarn, go into the last 2. So now there's our chain 3 and there's our first double crochet, and we're just going to continue doing that. So this is much easier than doing your first row because those holes are so defined and you don't need to struggle to put the hook into those holes. And we're going to just remember, grab it, go into the hole, take your yarn through the hole, grab your wool, first 2, grab your wool, last 2. Go around the hook to get the yarn on the hook, go into the hole, go to your, take it through, first 2, last 2. So you're going to grab it, go into the hole, pull through, you're going to do your first 2, last 2. And we're going to continue doing that until we get to the last 2 stitches in our row. So let's just keep going. So now we have 1, 2, 3 more double crochets to do. So if you look at your work to see that we have 3 more, is that you can see either by the small loops or you can see by the big loops at the bottom. So the double crochets we've already done, those double crochets that we've already done, that's 1 double crochet we still need to do. There's another one, and then this chain 3, it also counts as 1. So what we want to do is we're going to go into the loop, and then go through 2, go through 2. Now we have 2 more to do. So you're going to grab, you're going to go through the loop that we want to go through 2, go through 2, and the last double crochet, people sometimes forget to do this one because it doesn't look like a loop we go into. The chain 3, we always do a double crochet on that chain 3. So that's the last stitch. So if I separate it from everything you see, it's that last stitch at the end. I just pulled my wool out there, but I didn't all that. We're going to go into that chain 3, that top chain in that chain 3. So we're going to grab wool, we're going to go into that chain. So we just need to put our wool in there because it is a bit tight if your chain is tight, and we're going to go through that chain 3, and then you go through the first 2, go through the second 2, and now we've done our second row. So do you see I've gone into that chain 3, so it needs to be straight over there. If there's any divots or if it goes concave or convex, you know, so concave in, convex it goes out, then you know you've either, so convex you've added a stitch, concave you've missed a stitch. So our third row, chain 3, 2, 3, turn your work, and then we just do double crochets towards the end. Remember, don't go into the first loop, go into the second loop, and we just continue going on. So remember, with every row you chain 3, then you start doing your double crochets in the second loop. So let's continue crocheting our rows until we get to the length we want. Remember, to see the length that we want, you're either going to get your measuring tape and you're going to measure the bottom from side to side, and that's also, so that's your width and that's also the length we're going to need. Or you can keep crocheting and you just take your square and you're going to just fold it in half, so it needs to line up nicely. If it lines up nicely, it means that it's a what's it called, a perfect square. So if I measure this bottom it is going to be about 6 inches, yeah, about 6 inches or 16 centimeters. So we want the top as well to be 6 inches or 16 centimeters. And with this wool that I used, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. So you want about 12 to 13 rows if you use the same thickness wool I use. So it's a double knit wool. So let's continue doing that until we have our square of 6 inches or 16 centimeters, and I will meet you back once we have the right size square that we're looking for. I'll show you my little new pets I got. They're little rats. So this one is Mary. She is a ruby-eyed white Dumbo rat. She's still very small. I think she is about 13 weeks, so about 4 months, almost 5 months. And little Mary, we're busy training her to enjoy being held, but she enjoys being held. She's quite tame already. They're very, very cute, very intelligent creatures. And I have 2 more rats to show you. I've got another little girl, her name is Susan, and she's also a Dumbo, and she has a white body and like a grey stripe down her body. And then I've got a little boy, his name is Remy. He looks like Susan, except he's brown and white. So let me go get Susan to show you how Susan looks. Come. So the next little rat that I managed to catch, well, not catch, I got him out of the cage. I bought these from the pet shop, I didn't catch them, guys. He's a little Dumbo rat, his name is Remy. He likes to be held, but only when he comes to the cage to ask to be held. So he is very friendly, very, very lazy. So you can see he's a bit bigger than Susan, same age, but he doesn't exercise. It's like Susan climbs around the cage, runs on her stuff, and she climbs and eats, and he just eats and sleeps. So this is little Remy, little brown Remy, and he's got brown eyes. Come. So he has little Remy. He's a bit of a porker, but that's okay, we love him. Every shape and size we love. Hey little Remy, yes. And his eyes are always like this. Unless when he's running, then you'll open them up, but his eyes are always like this. He's always sleeping. And then little Susan, she's quite active. So here's Susan. Her colouring is grey and white, and her little face. I don't know if she has like blue eyes or black eyes, because if you go very close, they like have a little tinge of blue in them, but they look black to me at the moment. And she's also a little Dumbo rat, and she's 13 weeks old. Got her from the same pet shop. They're all brothers and sisters. And we are getting Remy fixed, but we have to wait until he is 5 months old to get him fixed. So they aren't mating, thank goodness, because rats can have quite big litters. But as soon as we see that one of the girls are on heat, or if Remy starts getting on heat, the cage does have it wide, and we are going to separate them. She loves climbing and she's very clever, so in their cage I hide treats around, so it keeps them active and stimulated, and she will find all the treats and eat them. Then after she's found all the treats, Mary will go looking for the treats, and then Mary doesn't have anything, so I feel bad, so I do give Mary some treats afterwards. But Remy doesn't look for treats. If you hand him the treats, he'll eat them, but he won't go run around and getting the treats, because he's very, very lazy. But it's quite cute. So I just normally let them run where they want to run when I'm holding them, and they normally go underneath, like where my armpit is. And she likes to go if I wear hoodies, she likes to go in the hood. But they're very, very tame compared to when we first got them, because they wouldn't even let me touch them. And now they're letting me touch them, which is very cute, and they're eating from my hand as well, because I do want to start training them and teaching them little tricks. So you can see how good they are climbing. And they're also very clean, so I have a quite ventilated cage, so it doesn't really stink, and they also don't stink. They're very, very clean animals. So people think they're dirty, they're not dirty. They're actually extremely clean. One more thing, where I learned everything about my rats there's a very nice, it's from the pet shop, so I asked that lady, but a very nice YouTube channel you can visit is called Remyology. She is very good about giving information with rats and what they can eat, what they can't eat, how their cage should be. So that's a nice channel to visit. So if you do plan on getting any rats or you have any rats, visit that YouTube channel, Remyology, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you. Okay, so I think we should get back to crocheting, and I'll show you how to end off your square. So once we have reached the desired size that we want, you're going to have one loop on your crochet hook. So what we want to do now is we're going to snip our wool up until we have a proper length. Then we're going to take the working yarn, we're going to loop it over our crochet hook, we're going to grab it and pull through the last loop, and now we've closed, and you just give that a little tug, and then there's our square, nice and done. Measure from one side, it is going to be 6 inches or 16 centimeters, and then the height is also going to be 6 inches or 16 centimeters because we're doing a square. If it is a few like millimeters bigger, let me just get Susan. If it is a few millimeters bigger or smaller, it's okay. When we do blocking, we'll sort that out. But if it is a few centimeters bigger or inches bigger, then there will be a problem. So we can't block that. If it's that much bigger, we won't be able to block it. But if it's a few millimeters off, you don't need to panic, you don't need to worry. We will fix that. So now we want to weave in. So the way you weave in is the same with stitching, with knitting. So we're going to just get our darning needle, we're going to put it through, and then we're going to just go from, so at the bottom where you chained, you're going to weave in from where you chained. So when we weave in, we're going to do 3 directions just like we're doing knitting. We're going to go through the bottom. So we're going to grab some loops. There's one. We're going to go over, under, over, under, over, and under. Then we're going to pull the yarn through. Okay. Then we want to chain, remember we want to weave in 3 directions. So the next one we're going to go is we're going to go over, under. So we want to go through one of the double crochets. We want to put the weaving in through one of the double crochets. Okay, like so. Then we're going to thread it and we're going to put it through. Then we want to go, those little loops where the double crochets connect to the next row, we can just go through there. So we're going to go over, under, over, under, over, under until the end, and you pull through. Then we just stretch it a little bit to make sure the wool is nice and secure and it's not moving around, and we weaved in. So this little extra bit, you can just cut it off. And we'll do the same on the other side. So with this one, we're also going to weave in on the other side. So there we go, you can see I've weaved in. You can't see where I weaved in, which is very nice. So if I show all the sides. So the reason I wanted to do the double crochet in that small loop at the top of every double crochet is because it gives this lined pattern. If you can see, it's like a lined pattern, and I wanted that lined pattern. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really did enjoy making it. If you would like another tutorial, if this tutorial wasn't good enough to understand crocheting, if you want a tutorial on how to hold your wool nice and control that tension, about the hook movement, any questions, just please leave a comment or tag me on Instagram, message me on Instagram at craftwithjared. just let me know if this video was enough for you to understand how to do the double crochet, anything you would like me to fix, anything you would like me to add, and please leave a like and comment if you like this video, subscribe if you liked it, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on Instagram at craftwithjared, and happy crocheting. I'll see you later. Bye.